Welcome to the CSI-CY, which stands for Communication Supports Inventory, Children and Youth. This is a tool designed to make educational goal writing easier for teachers and speech-language pathologists who work with students who rely on augmentative and alternative communication now or in the future. It is not an assessment. It is a guide to organize your understanding of the impact of a student's communication strengths and limitations on participation at school and at home. My name is Dr. Melanie Fried-Oken, and I'm one of the authors of this new tool. I will be narrating this presentation to show you how to use the CSI-CY. It is based on the World Health Organization's ICF-CY. I will guide you through completing the inventory and obtaining a report. So let's get started. Let's first go to our website. On the home page, you can choose many different functions. You can work on the online version. You can download a PDF that's fillable, or you can print out a hard copy and fill it out by hand. I'm going to show you how to use the online version now. One of the benefits of the online version is that you can start at any time and stop, save it, and complete it later. Once it's completed, though, your information will not be stored, so you'll need to remember to download or print out your final results. The CSI-CY has two parts. The inventory. This documents your child's strengths and limitations for communication and participation. And it makes note of physical reasons for limitations and environmental factors that either facilitate or hinder the student's participation. The second part is the report, which presents prioritized information for different areas of concern that you have identified and can be used to form educational goals. Remember I said that we're going to look at different areas, and the first area is restrictions in participation caused by communication limitations. There are 21 items in this section. It's related to school activities and interpersonal interaction and relationships. Let's start with the school activities. You will see an item such as playing with others as an educational activity, and you will be asked to identify how well the child does this. From participation is greater than typical peer, no restriction, mild, moderate, severe, complete restriction, not applicable, or you don't know. I want to show you that for each item there is also information about the ICF code that was used for this item, as well as a help button, which tells you information about the coding pattern. Please note that there is a progress bar that appears at the top of each page to let you know how far along you are. For Nicole, playing with others as an educational activity is very important, and she's good at it. So we're going to say that she has no restriction. You hover your mouse in front of the code you want, click, and the bubble will be filled. The same procedure is used for all of the items on the CSI-CY. At the end of each section, there's also a text box where you can write in a response and a concern about the student that you feel is not addressed in this section. Okay, we have completed the first section. We can now click on Next or Resume Later. We will click on Next and be sent to the second area, Communication Limitations. Here, we're going to look at 7 different areas. We're going to look at receptive language literacy, expressive language and literacy, functions of communication, and rules of social interaction for communication. These are for children who rely on AAC as well as their neurotypical peers. We have made separate sections related to AAC receptive strategies, expressive modes and strategies, and AAC motor access. I want to show you how to resume later if you decide you don't have time to finish the inventory now. You go to this button, click on it, and you're taken to this screen, which gives you a link. If you are not going to resume immediately, you should copy down the link and then later place it in the address line. For our purposes, we will highlight the link, right-click on it, open it up. When we resume, we're taken back to the communication limitations page. You'll see that there are 4 mandatory questions that we did not complete when we first went through the inventory. Now we'll go down and find those highlighted red items. We can now press the next button and we're taken to impairments in body functions. We decided that as educators and school-based speech-language pathologists, there are not many impairments that we can address. Therefore, you'll see that these sections are much shorter than the sections that deal with behavior. Our final sections deal with environmental factors that affect communication. These are taken straight from the ICF-CY and often are found in the supplemental information section of the IEPs that are conducted in the U.S. We also like this section because the information that is provided can be used to advocate for changes in the school system, or for the child's educational plan. I'd like you to take a look at the help button here. We're changing our codes from no restrictions to facilitator if the factor is a substantial help to the student, and barrier if the factor is a substantial hindrance to the student. For example, if the child has a hearing impairment, are they in a very large room where they cannot hear the teacher? If this is the case, we would press barrier. Does the child have a vision impairment and they're in a classroom where you cannot control the light? That would be an example of a barrier. Is the child in a wheelchair where there are 30 students in a small room and the child cannot get around successfully for play or work activities? Assistive technology is another environmental factor that's considered in the ICF-CY and included here. This is looking at products and technology in the student's environment that help or hinder communication, ranging from technology developed for the purpose of communication to general products and technology for communication. The next section relates to people in the student's environment that help or hinder communication, including types of supports provided and the knowledge needed to provide the support. So, for example, there might be the educational assistant who wants the child to succeed so much that they interfere too much. That might be a barrier, as opposed to the educational assistant who provides emotional support that is needed at school for success. Services and policies that help or hinder the student's communication are addressed with this inventory as well. Upon completing the inventory, we're taken to the next instructions page. If you want to review your answers or make any changes, now is the time to do so by hitting the Previous button. When you're ready, click on the Submit button. Once you hit the Submit button, you cannot return to the survey, but your responses are saved. After you hit the Submit button, you will be sent to the Report feature, where you will organize your responses into a list of potential educational goals. On this page, you'll see all items that you selected for Nicole, except no difficulty, not applicable, or don't know. First, you see the participation items that range from mild difficulty to complete difficulty. Note the different colors from green for mild difficulty to bright red for complete difficulty. You next see communication limitations that you identified, impairments in body functions that limit communication, the environmental barriers that are located in red, better than average skills and environmental facilitators that you identified on the inventory form. Let's go back to the top of the initial report page. You see that there is a filter so that we can include items at the 4 different levels of difficulty. Right now we have all the items that range from mild difficulty to complete difficulty. But you may uncheck the box next to any levels of difficulty that you would like to remove from this list. For example, if you only want to look at skills that are mildly impaired, then you just unclick the buttons for complete difficulty, severe, and moderate difficulty. You'll see that only the items selected for mild difficulty appear on the report. Likewise, if you want to address mild difficulty, those that can be easily changed within the school year, as well as identify the complete difficulty items, you just click on those two filters and you see the items that you identified earlier. If you want to review all of your responses from the inventory, you can always click on the link See All Inventory Responses. You may save your entire inventory to your own hard drive if you wish. So let's get back to our filtered items. Your next task is to read through the filtered list of items and put a check into the box at the left of those items that you want to consider addressing in the student's educational plan. You must select at least 3 items and no more than 20 items from this list. When you've selected between 3 and 20 items, click Next to continue. Now you see the report summarizing the items you've prioritized as areas of concern. First, you'll see activities and relationships to work on from items you selected from the participation section. Anything that you have written into one of the text boxes will also appear. Then you see environmental factors that you've selected to work on that make it hard for the student to participate in activities. The red bars show you that all of these environmental factors were barriers. Next, you'll see communication limitations, and as speech-language pathologists, these are going to be the ones that form our educational goals. For Nicole, we did not identify any items where she performed better than the typical peer. The next section includes the supports that are helpful to the student. These are the environmental items that we scored as facilitators for Nicole, and we identified many facilitators in her school system. Finally, we can add possible goals that we would address that were not listed in the items above. For example, you can write in that the physical therapist will work on positioning and seating as related to communication. When you've finished, you have the choice of going back to revise the items you want to select for possible goals or continuing on to the final product. Let's continue. You're taken to a brief feedback survey, which we thank you for filling out. At this point, you can either download or print your report. Let me show you what a final report looks like. This is the document that you completed for Nicole with mild restrictions identified for educational goals, the environmental barriers, and the environmental facilitators. Next, you will see answers to each item on the CSI-CY, so you have reference for later on. Remember, the point of this tool is to help you prepare for the student's next Educational Goal Committee meeting. We hope the areas of concern that you identified as you completed the inventory and report will contribute to the development of excellent educational goals targeting the student's communication needs. Thank you.